It is one of the most recognizable shapes in the world, a silhouette so distinct, so majestic, that for over 50 years it has commanded the sky. The Boeing 747, the original jumbo jet, the queen of the skies. For generations of travelers, it was the definition of flight itself, a flying giant that democratized air travel, connecting continents and cultures like never before. But as familiar as its form is, there is one feature that has always sparked curiosity: that iconic hump, that elegant, rising curve that sets it apart from every other aircraft. Why is it there? Was it for a fancy sky lounge, a panoramic viewing deck? The answer is far more interesting. It's a story not of luxury, but of fear, of foresight, and of one of the most brilliant gambles in the history of engineering. To understand why the 747 has a hump, we have to go back to a time when its creators believed it was destined for a very short life. The year is 1965. The jet age is in full swing. Sleek airliners like the Boeing 707 and the Douglas DC-8 are crisscrossing the globe, but they are becoming victims of their own success. Airports are getting crowded, terminals are overflowing. The visionary leader of Pan-American World Airways, Juan Trippe, sees the writing on the wall. He needs a bigger plane, not just a little bigger. He wants a Leviathan. He approaches Boeing with an audacious demand: build him an aircraft that can carry more than double the passengers of the 707, an aircraft that could seat 350 to 400 people, turning a single gate into two. This was a monumental request. No one had ever built a commercial plane of this scale. The engineering challenges were immense. But there was another, even greater challenge looming on the horizon, one that threatened to make this new jumbo jet obsolete before it ever took off. That threat was speed. In the 1960s, the future of air travel had a name: supersonic. Across the Atlantic, the British and French were collaborating on the Concorde, a plane that could fly at twice the speed of sound. The Americans were working on their own supersonic transport, or SST. The consensus in the industry was clear. In 10 years, anyone flying long distance would be flying supersonic. For Boeing, this was a terrifying prospect. Why would anyone spend hours in their slow, subsonic jumbo jet when they could get to their destination in half the time? They feared their massive investment in the 747 would have an incredibly short lifespan carrying passengers. After a decade, it would be a relic. The project was almost canceled, but the lead designer, a brilliant and pragmatic engineer named Joe Sutter, and his team of Incredibles, as they were known, had to find a way to save it. They needed to future-proof their giant. If it was destined to fail as a passenger plane, it needed a guaranteed second act. And that second act was cargo. If this kind of aviation history fascinates you, hit that like button. Sutter's logic was impeccable. While passengers would chase speed, the world of air freight cared about size and cost. A massive plane that could haul immense amounts of cargo cheaply would always be in demand. So, the 747 was designed with a dual identity. It would launch as a passenger airliner, but it was secretly built to be the world's greatest cargo freighter. This single decision would define its iconic shape forever. To be an effective cargo plane, you need one critical feature: the ability to load freight through the nose. A swing nose design allows you to open the entire front of the aircraft, creating a huge opening to load long, bulky, and standardized cargo containers straight onto the main deck. It is the most efficient way to load a flying warehouse. But this presented a massive design problem. The cockpit, the nerve center of the entire aircraft, is traditionally located in the nose. If your nose is a giant upward hinging door, where do you put the pilots? You can't put them in the door itself. You can't put them below the main deck. The only logical place for the cockpit was above the main deck, out of the way of the cargo door. Sutter and his team placed the cockpit on a new shortened upper level. They ran the flight controls and wiring up and over the space that would become the main cargo bay. To make this aerodynamically efficient, they had to blend this raised cockpit smoothly back into the main fuselage. And in doing so, they created the hump. That legendary curve wasn't designed for champagne and caviar. It was a purely practical solution to a problem created by the need for a cargo door, which was itself a solution to the perceived threat of supersonic travel. The world's most glamorous piece of aviation architecture was born from industrial necessity. But the story doesn't end there. Once the cockpit was in place, the engineers looked at the design. The aerodynamic fairing required to smooth the airflow over the raised cockpit created a bubble of empty space behind the flight deck. It was just there, a long, windowless room. What should they do with it? This is where the glamour came back in. Boeing's marketing department and its airline customers saw an opportunity. This space, born of utility, could be turned into the ultimate symbol of luxury. And so, the upstairs lounge was born. Airlines went wild with it. Some, like Pan Am, installed a restaurant-style dining room. Others, like Qantas, put in the Captain Cook Lounge, a nautical-themed cocktail bar. Continental Airlines had a pub. There were piano bars, observation lounges, and even, for a time, sleeper seats. Flying in the 747's upper deck was the pinnacle of air travel. It was an exclusive club at 35,000 feet. The Hump became the plane's most powerful marketing tool, a feature that defined the golden age of flight. All by accident. What would you have put in that upper deck lounge? A library? A movie theater? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Of course, history played out differently than anyone expected. The supersonic dream faltered. High costs, sonic boom restrictions, and the 1973 oil crisis grounded America's SST project and limited the Concorde to a niche luxury service. Meanwhile, the temporary subsonic jumbo jet, the Boeing 747, became an astonishing success. It wasn't just a 10-year placeholder, it became the backbone of the global long-haul fleet for nearly 50 years. It made international travel accessible to the middle class and shrunk the planet. It became the true queen of the skies. And Joe Sutter's brilliant hedge paid off handsomely. The 747 also became a legendary cargo plane. The 747 freighter, with its swing-up nose, has been the workhorse of the global supply chain for decades, hauling everything from race cars and satellites to pharmaceuticals and fresh flowers. Many passenger 747s, after a long life of flying people, were converted into freighters, fulfilling the destiny Sutter had envisioned for them from the very beginning. Today, the reign of the Queen is coming to an end. More efficient, twin-engine jets have taken her place on most passenger routes. The final 747 rolled off the Everett production line in 2022, closing an incredible chapter in aviation. But the next time you are at an airport and see one of these magnificent giants, perhaps a freighter still hard at work, look at that hump. Don't just see a unique design, see the story behind it. A story of a team of engineers who were told their creation would be obsolete in a decade. A team that, through sheer ingenuity, designed a backup plan so robust that it not only saved their aircraft, but created an icon. The hump of the 747 is not just a feature. It is a monument to the power of thinking ahead. A beautiful accidental result of designing for a future that never came, which in turn allowed the 747 to build a future all its own. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more stories from the sky.